Okay, hey everybody. We're here in the library again. Obviously, I have a guest with me this week. I've got Daniel. He's wearing a hat because he's cool like that. We're pretty sure that it's one of those fake Christianity things that fake Christians do. But at any rate, so this has kind of been a long delayed review of Captain America. It's kind of standing in place of our 3-for-1 this time around. And I brought Daniel on because he is someone who knows about the film side of things. I like to pretend like I know a little bit about comic side of things. Daniel knows stuff about more the production side and that kind of thing as well. So he's going to be jumping in to discuss with me because in addition to Captain America, we're going to branch out and talk a little bit more about some more Marvel stuff in general on top of that. So that's where we're sitting. Well, first off, Captain America, if I could describe it with one word, that word would be awesome. If I could describe it with 2 words, it would be awesome, but. And if I could describe it with 3 words, it would be what the hates. But fortunately, this is my show, so I get a lot more than 3 words. I can go on as long as I want. Daniel does not get the last word, I do. So we're going to go ahead and let him say, just briefly, what did you think of Captain America? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10 jujubes.
1 to 10, I would give it a 8, actually. I thought that it was quite good. I felt like it expanded the universe, and I especially liked the tie-in they did with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, actually, which we're going to be talking about a little later. And I feel like it could only actually be viewed in connection with that, actually. You really had to get everything out of that. I felt like it was one of the most I felt like it actually had some really good writing. I felt it was like one of the best written Avengers, simply because they had a lot of very good character interactions. So, for instance, the friendship between Black Widow and Captain America that did not end up in a romance, is a bit. It kind of.
Now you're stealing my thunder, though. I was going to talk about that one, but okay, go on.
It kind of averts the trope that most action films have in it, and it actually provides a really interesting friendship that's actually really interesting and impacts the story.
Yeah, well, on the notes, you mentioned a few things there, and I was going to throw out, so you give it an 8 of 10. I would probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, numbers are so arbitrary, if 10 is awesome and 5 is average and 0 sucks, I'm going to give it an 8 probably as well, because it was definitely above average. There were some ways in which I think it could have been better, but not actually a whole lot. So those are the quick ratings. I wanted to get those out of the way because now I wanted to warn people, as we said, we're going to talk about Marvel more in general, as well as this. We've waited long enough. You have no excuse to have not seen The Winter Soldier by now. So we're it's going all out. If you haven't seen anything up to this point, Dan and I will probably talk about it. And if you want to turn off the computer, now is the time. Otherwise, thanks for sticking around and listening to us chat.
Before we get into that real quick, I did want to talk about the actual filming of Captain America quick from a film standpoint. One thing that I loved was how much they actually filmed in D.C., and it really made a difference. I know some of the people who were down there working on it, and they were there for a couple of weeks, which is really unusual. And most
It's not an easy city to film in.
No, it's not. And I've actually filmed a couple days in there before, in some of the same spots that I actually filmed in. And yeah, it's extremely difficult. You have to spend a lot of money to film there, and it's really hard. But most of the films that come in, like I know, like Transformers came in and filmed for a little bit. That Salt movie came in and filmed for a little bit, and they come in and they film for maybe 3 days. Avengers was around for about 2 weeks, and I think you can really tell because a lot of the scenes with Captain America where he's running around around the place, those are clearly in DC. A lot of the scenes are just very clear in DC.
Well, yeah, on that note, just to throw out there, one of the things I actually said to Sarah in the theater, I leaned over and was like, look where, because we could figure out where you can actually tell where S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters was supposed to be.
Exactly.
I was like, well, they might have had to bulldoze some of Arlington Seminary to put it there. I doubt that we actually would have let them do that. but actually was built on top of BGR Arlington. I was like, poor BGR Arlington, it's destroyed for Shield HQ.
And actually, I remember one thing I was talking about with with a friend, and we were talking about the car chase scene with Nick Fury and how he actually gets stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Which is a very DC thing to do.
That's something that always gets me about like the show Bones, and you'll see them drive, and Booth is driving, is driving, and he'll just be talking to Brennan like this, just driving straight. Like when was the last time in DC that you drove for 4 straight minutes and didn't stop for anything? That just doesn't happen. Though I was also going to say, on that note, one of the places where I felt like there was a slight suspension of disbelief on my part. Okay, I realize that African American people are probably often unjustly pulled over because they're driving fancy cars and our police system is biased towards them. But I kind of feel like when you're super spy Nick Fury and you've just uncovered a conspiracy and you're sitting there and these 2 shadowy looking cops pull up and are checking you out, that your first thought might be hit squad, not racist cop. That was what I thought.
I mean, that goes to the accuracy of it being DC, though.
Well, that's also true. No, you could have told they were hit squads and not racist cops because they didn't already have the guns out when they pulled up.
Well, that's true.
Would have been DC cop.
That's very true.
But anyway, one of the things that you already talked on, so we'll spring from that, is I really liked the way in this movie that you had a strong male character in Captain America, and I felt like you really saw a growth in his character from the first one, where my biggest complaint about the first Captain America movie is you saw more montages of here's all the cool things we could show you Captain America doing than actually Captain America doing anything.
No, I agree.
And I think in this one you saw more of that, and therefore you saw more of his character, and we became more vested in him as a person. I mean, I'll be honest, I've never been a huge Avenger follower or a huge Avenger fan and Captain America diehard guy like some people are. I mean, I enjoyed him, but not as much. I was much more an X-Man person. That's more what I followed. Spider-Man, obviously love Spider-Man. So for me to become that invested in a character, I thought you did something well, and I thought you've expanded something. And the big thing that you touched on, what I thought was awesome that we saw in this movie, was with Black Widow and making her character more believable, making it stronger, expanding it, and not putting her in a relationship, because frankly, this is if you want to talk about a real example of how to write a strong female character, this is it. She's not a prop to the plot. She's an actual character who we invest in as a character because she doesn't have a romantic interest with our male lead. And how I think that is rare and that is refreshing. And I think that it enabled us to view her more as her, as just, well, how is she going to stack up with Captain America?
And you also had Maria Hill in it too, who was also a strong character who was necessary to the plot. And I felt like that was a real step forward in the Marvel franchise, I think.
Though I didn't think we were liking those actors anymore.
Oh, well, I'm liking characters that actress played.
Okay.
Back in the day. Also, for any Community fans out there, I don't know if you noticed the Danny Pudi guest star, but that was pretty good.
I did, and actually that was another thing where Sarah was like, oh, I know that in the theater. It's great. Sarah actually really relates with Captain America because she doesn't necessarily get a ton of cultural references, and Captain America doesn't either. But anyway, so what I wanted to basically, just to comment briefly on the movie again some more, I felt like for an action movie, there were really only 2 points where the movie made me suspend disbelief too much. Like, I thought there was a lot of good action in it, some of the best action we've seen in a Marvel movie. And there was the time when, okay, he jumps out of the airplane without a parachute. That was just kind of, okay, really, man. I don't care how much super soldier serum you have, you're going to drive your legs up into your body when you hit the water. But that was in the trailer, so you knew that was coming. And it was really early in the movie. And the other one, it only made me briefly pause. It was where he took that grenade launcher to the shield and blew him off. Like a bunch of stuff happened right in a row. Winter Soldier shot at him. He took the shield. It blew him off. He threw it into the bus.
That's
the
true.
thing went
Yeah,
flipping
yeah,
over,
that
and I was
was-
like, and first I was like, no, I don't care. He's not Wolverine. He might be awesome, but he's not Wolverine. You cannot live through
No.
that.
Well, speaking of that, actually, when he gets shot at the end and then falls into the Potomac, he should have died of infection after that. I mean, that's.
Well, I also thought it was interesting, again, just to expand out, another thing that I did meta for the world for a second. I thought it was very interesting how they very clearly tried to make, oh look, the helicarriers basically fell right back on top of the building and right back into the river, and everybody escaped because Superman got killed over this. And so I thought it was interesting that they really made sure that didn't happen.
That's true. That could have. I also think that I will say this: post 9/11, having giant ships crash into DC, probably not the best idea.
Might not have worked well anyway. But anyway, so to expand to Marvel in general from that, I think one of the reasons why we had discussed earlier, and to bring this to it, I'll tell you what, actually, you know what we'll probably do is split this into 2 videos so we can talk a little bit more about Marvel Extended Universe and people can break it up at their leisure. But basically, I think what we would both say is that Captain America definitely gave us some of the best that we've seen. How would you say, just briefly, I know we ranked the movie itself, compared to some of the other Marvel movies that had come out real recently, so we'll say the Iron Man trilogy, the 2 Thor movies that are out, the Avengers movie that's out, how does, in your mind, Captain America stack up to those?
I actually think it's the best. I think that Avengers was doing a lot, and so I don't think you were able to focus as much on individual growth, which I think is fine. I think it's fine to have like the 3 Avenger movies be more about the team-ups and the action and moving like the larger story plot forward, and then have the individual movies move the individual stories forward. For example, I would rate Iron Man 3 right below Avengers, because Iron Man 3 again does a very good job of making Tony Stark human, showing kind of a deeper side of him, show how, to give a little bit of spoiler, he basically has PTSD in Iron Man 3, which makes sense considering what he went through. And so they do, like with Captain America, they do a very good job of making him believable and making him relatable.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's definitely one of Marvel's better movies as of late. And I'll expand more my thoughts when we're talking about the Marvel Universe in general, which definitely anyone who's a Joss Whedon fan should hang on for.